Okay, brother, we are live. Well, it's working on being live.
You can record this too, and it's on Facebook too. I didn't know that Zoom did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's something new that I just started. So, I mean, I just found out as well. I mean, it's honestly, you can do a webinar up to 100 people, be able to go in, up. See, of course, I'm.
This too, and it's on Facebook.
Hi, look, we're hearing our own voices because I had Facebook on. Well, Pat, man, I appreciate you jumping on here. I'm going to go ahead and rock out a couple little things on here just to make sure we tag you in here. Because I want to make sure everyone. Jesus, there. All right. Hold on one second here, Pat.
No problem.
This is the beautiful thing about Facebook Live, right? And boom. All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
You hear me all good, Pat?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
All right, there we go. Well, Pat, man, I appreciate you being on our Facebook Live today. The good thing is by giving everyone a little bit of time while we kind of get it ready, so to speak, it allows me to, really be able to go out there and be able to make sure that we've got everything right. We share it across all the Facebooks. But, man, I mean, this is my daily Facebook Live I'm doing with my following. Man, I want to have you on. You and I have known each other for a while. We met out in Maverick 1000, Yannick Silver's group. We recently were just at Baby Bathwater, another amazing group that we're a part of. We got a lot of mutual friends. I just recently lost my buck. Balance is bullshit. And that's why I want to have you on the show. I mean, you are the founder of Rebus University, which is, a sales platform or a teaching platform to be able to teach people how to be able to do sales, and also the best-selling author of 6 Steps to 7 Figures. Before we get into it too much, give a little bit of background, a little bit more into that. I mean, that's just very topical of this titles of what it is, but I mean, I'd love for everyone to kind of know a little bit more about you and where you've come from.
Yeah. So I'm a real estate guy. Basically grew up, graduated from college, went straight into real estate, spent 25 years selling real estate, rung all kinds of bells in that arena. And then I wrote my book as a way to kind of give back to the real estate community. And all along became a real estate investor and an investor in different ventures and small companies and things. And then about 2 years ago, I decided to start my own podcast, Real Estate Rock Stars. Yep. And then from there, I decided to monetize that podcast by creating a company that actually trains real estate agents best practices. So I find a real estate agent that's maybe has a best practice, say in Austin, Texas, or in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I go out there and I interview them and find out what they're doing and put it on film, and then we create a class out of it.
That's awesome.
And so that's what's been that's what I've been doing to build a vertical income stream, which for about 7 years I didn't have. I just had horizontal streams from investments.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, so, let's talk about those different things. I mean, you work real estate agents. I mean, in today's world, I mean, there's a ton of them out there. And I mean, a lot of my friends that I know are in the real estate industry, they seem like they're consistently always just overwhelmed working. I mean, there's a few standouts like yourself that really have understood how to be able to live a better life, but it seems like they're consistently overworked, pushing so hard because, I mean, they've got this whole mentality that they've got to, and then they kind of throw themselves off with this work-life balance mentality. Like, I believe that there's an opportunity to be able to have, equal aspects. My perspective on it is to be able to integrate all aspects of your life into your life and not try to balance out different pieces. I mean, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I certainly don't believe that you could watch 2 television stations at the same time and actually know what the hell is going on both.
Right.
and be able to follow the scripts on both. There's certainly people that do that. I know a guy's got 5 TVs in one room. But I think that's more of a way to show off, the fact that he can afford 5 TVs in one room and just something to do just because he could do it.
Right.
I don't really think people watch 2 movies or read 2 books simultaneously, one page. I think you do got to switch channels. I think that, especially if you're raising a family and you're trying to pay attention to kids and you're constantly being interrupted by the phone, I think that is not good.
Right.
I do think that a lot of work nowadays, you're able to do without balance. It's more acceptable. It's like I saw an interview with Donald Trump the other day, and they were like, when are you going to take a vacation? He said, I haven't taken a vacation in 7 years. He said, but my whole life is a vacation. I just do whatever I want. And, probably not so much now that he's but before that, flying here, flying there, he's always going to cool places and doing what he wants,
I think you're right. I mean, I think you're 100% right, because that's the way I look at it. If you feel like you have to take a vacation from what you're doing on a daily basis and you need those breaks, and you're not integrating all aspects of your life. I mean, I go through the book, and I'm in pieces of what I believe, and I'll kind of go into a little bit, is that you have to have 3 other things before you even look at your business to be able to truly have that full life and to be able to appreciate what you have every day. You've got to have your health. That's important to you. I mean, you stay in shape fairly well for your, you've got to have relationships, because again, you got to have those people that are there to be able to support you, to be able to be there, to be able to appreciate your wins and be there for your losses. And you've got to have, a vision about where you're going, not just where you're at. And then incorporate that into your business or into your life. Because I believe all those pieces are very integral. When you and I met with Maverick 1000, I know Maverick changed my life. Being able to be around other individuals that truly appreciate what they've accomplished, work hard, and still try to change the world around them was a great perspective shift for me. And you and I had a lot of fun, and people really we're like, oh, you guys are out. Was that the last time we were out together? I think, was that Aruba or Jamaica? I think it was Aruba.
Yeah, it was Aruba.
And we're out there, and people are like, oh, you guys are just out there in Aruba having fun, but they don't see that we're going to Inner Island. We're going, to be able to make some changes, some differences, which are all different aspects of life, but people only see that high side. So, right. I'd love to be able to, hear your perspective on some of that stuff. Because I love those relationships. I love, trying to be able to stay healthy, and also knowing where I'm going with fellow entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, that's cool, because that's kind of, if you look at both, say the Maverick events and the Baby Bathwater, the 2 places where we met recently, both were, one was at a ski resort and one was at an island, right? So, right. Both are where people would say those are vacations, right? That would be where you go to balance, for lack of a better word. But we were able to do everything all together. We were able to learn. There was classic, incredible speakers at both. There was networking at both, which is business related.
Right.
But it was in a brilliant place, and we were, partying and having fun in both places. So, there's certainly no balance there. It's all a mixed soup of all those things.
Right. I think that's where a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we look at that as our life now. And that's why I try and go out there and make sure we're sharing these different aspects, because people think that that's not possible. They believe more and more, there were so many marketing dollars put in this whole work-life balance. They've got to be able to wear one mask while they work and a different mask at home and separate the 2 out. And, we've been blessed to be able to find those communities and individuals and friends that we can do that all together, to be able to grow together and be able to have all aspects of our one life that we have and be able to take it forward. And that's what I like to share.
I think you got to be aware of overuse of anything. And by that, let's just take, if we were at four aspects at both of those events, if we were at health because we were skiing and, running around in Aruba or whatever, and then you've got networking, which is business and learning and education, building relationships.
Thinking about where you're going with a vision.
But if you took one of those and you hyper focused on it and all you did was network, or all you did, like I knew a guy that lived up the street from me. I remember him getting divorced, and I asked his wife why, and she said, I'm a golf widow, and he literally was like addicted to golf. I mean, he played twice a day. I think the same thing can be said about the cell phone. I mean, there's people I know that just can't put it down. Yeah. And that's why some of these apps, I downloaded this app recently called Moment.
Okay.
And it basically shows you on your phone how long you spent on your phone so far.
I bet there's some people out there who would be astonished. I mean, especially, I hate to say it. I mean, it's like the millennials, right? I mean, it's 24/7. I mean, your phones are built to be able to control your life, and that's not the way around. It was supposed to be, the phone was invented and all these different pieces were to be able to add value to your life. And I think it's now taking it away from it.
Yeah. And I think it lends to poor relationship building. I mean, you think you have more relationship because you're liking stuff and texting back and forth, but at the end of the day, you're not really getting to know somebody as deep as maybe you or I would if we're just standing there chatting for 45 minutes at baby bathwater. You know what I mean? So I don't think a phone will ever take place of building a deep relationship.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. How many hours have you spent already today? I hope it's not hours.
I'm going to pull it up right now. I just started this. It's pretty cool. I'm
going to definitely put Moment on my phone because I'll tell you, I mean, one of the things that I do, like I wake up at 5:30 every morning and I do everything to not touch my phone, email, anything till 9 a.m. And because again, I believe it sets precedence.
46, can you see this?
I can see it now. Yeah, you got
46 minutes, which isn't bad, right? Because
I mean, it's already, let's see, it's already 12 noon your time and 46 minutes already. I guarantee you there's people that even before they hit 8 a.m. hit 46 minutes.
Yeah, and then it has, it keeps going. And then yesterday was an hour and 48 minutes. Sunday was an hour and 41. And this is big, Saturday was almost 4 hours, which is bad because that's a Saturday, right? I mean, you shouldn't even be, working. But I mean, I think it's great. It should, I guess a light problem here, but it shows you your scale. Look at that. And it just went up to 47 minutes, but
because you're playing with your phone, Pat, put it down.
And you can set alarms on it. You could, have your phone shut off, and it just kind of keeps you in perspective. You know what I mean? Keeps you at least aware.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where people go. It's good to be aware and be able to go through those things. But at the same point, I think people need to just allow sometimes at the same point. They're going, like you and I are going to take that, go, okay, cool. We need to pull off our phone. I worry too that there's a lot of people out there that'll go in and be like, all of a sudden, as you said, they'll hyper focus on that. Well, I can't be on my phone. I've got to be able to do this. I've got, and then next thing you know, now they're losing more time thinking about what they're not doing than compared to actually doing something else.
Right.
So, and that's where it's just like, be you, just be who you are all the time. I mean, Pat, I don't think I've ever, seen you be two different people. And all the times that we've hung out, had fun, you're always just Pat. I mean, you're not trying to be something else, someone that you're not. I mean, so many people, I'll meet people at work, or I'll talk to different clients that I have, and they'll be like, well, or even guys that own other companies, like, well, I can't always be me all the time. And I'm like, why? Well, there's certain employees or my employer or something like that. I just can't do that around them. I was like, well, it sounds like you either had the wrong employees, the wrong employer, all those different pieces, because you're concentrating on what someone else thinks about you rather than who you are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people work for the man, you know what I mean? Like, so So if they are their true self.
Do you think that they're in the wrong job if they're their true self and they don't fit in, or they just they truly do have to be different people?
You have to have any corporation has to have employees,
Right.
and you either work for yourself or you don't. I mean,
Right.
if it bothers them, yes. If it bothers them, they're in the wrong job. But if it doesn't bother them, I mean, some people like rules. They like to have boundaries. They like to have instruction. Matter of fact, most of the world does.
Right.
Some people like me or you that like to color outside the lines and have a distaste for authority figure. Most people aren't like that. They like authority figures. They like lines to be drawn so they know how to follow them. So I don't think it bothers them.
Right.
Where me or you would be like, I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to do what I want. And
that's it, man.
Right. Fire me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's the whole piece, because you want to be able to. I've worked with some of the people in the corporate world, and worked with corporations as well, be able to change that kind of culture they have within their companies, because I believe employees that, focus, the employers help employees focus on health, focus on them having a vision about where they're going, not just where they're at, and also on the relationship they're building within the company and outside of the company, will see more productivity from their employees and be able to get more employees to care and be able to put even more into the companies that they're working for. Right. And so many of them, I mean, I have friends that come home and they're like, okay, well, I've got to work 5 more hours on emails before I go to bed. It's exhausting. I hate it, but I've got to do it. That it blows my mind. I mean, that these companies aren't seeing that. I mean, and these people are going, if I can ever find a way out, I will, but I've got to be able to pay the bills, and it's a hard way to be able to keep on going through life. I think there's better ways to be able to look at it. And I think a lot of times people put so much value on that almighty dollar that they sacrifice themselves and their health, their relationships. I know I did it. I mean, when I first started out,
people do.
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah. And until I started making that mindset shift that, other parts of my life were more important. I mean, when I first started out, I was making a lot of money, but next thing I know, I was overweight for the first time in my life. My relationships weren't going anywhere. I had no vision about what I had coming in the future. I just knew what I was doing right now, because business took in that almighty dollar, took everything. And people outside perspective saw me as, they're like, oh, wow, Josh is successful. He's out there, living the life, making a lot of money. But I felt I was miserable. And until I started making those style shifts, making sure that those other parts of my life were important as well, or as equally important. I mean, you wrote an article yesterday on LinkedIn about balance is bullshit. I mean, some of the stuff was about scheduling.
Right.
I mean, and with real estate agents. So, I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, I believe that there's so many people put scheduling in regards to they'll only schedule their work. But I think it's just as important to be able to schedule those other aspects of your life, to treat them and show they are as important. Time with your wife, time with your girlfriend, time with your kid. Put it on your calendar to
right.
have them be equal in your life, rather than letting one outweigh the other. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%, because if you don't, something less valuable is going to fill up the time.
Right.
So, so block it out. I believe in the ideal day, meaning, you set out your ideal day of, okay, this is how I make money and this is what produces the most amount of money for me. So let me block that out first and foremost. Then let me block out, yoga or training or exercise or whatever. Then let me block out relationships, relationship time. And when I'm blocking it out, just like during yoga, I don't, mix other things in. How
important is that in your life right now? I mean, being able to do that, making sure those things happen, that you block those times
out. It's not as important as it was when my kids were younger. When my kids were younger, I felt like I really had to consciously push to to spend time with them, because there's an old saying, work fills time allowed.
Right.
And I, got to the point where work filled the time allowed. And once I had kids, I had to kind of set really strict boundaries around the cell phone and the computer and all that stuff, to the point where I would just leave my phone in my car. Nice. For the longest time. But now my kids are in college, and so it's a little more flexible, and I also don't have the job that I used to have. I used to be a pretty, real estate agent that was being pulled this way and pulled this way and pulled that. Now I just, I'm building this company, but I just do it. I'm right here. I'm in my garage. I just, we're bootstrapping it. So
I love it, man. I love it.
So anyway, so I just, set my own schedule. If I don't want, right now I don't work Mondays and Fridays. I just work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so it's a real much easier life,
Right.
So I don't have to do that as much.
That's cool, man. Well, I know outside of all this, we talked, I mentioned it real quickly, you put your book out, 6 Steps to 7 Figures. And it's even funnier because when did you publish that book originally?
2011.
And you just had a resurgence because out of nowhere, Ty Lopez picked it up, right?
Yeah, that was really odd. He just snapped a picture of it. And then next thing you know, like 16 people started sending me little pictures of his snap. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then he Instagrammed it and went a couple places. And I was like, wow, that's neat.
Yeah, man. And have you been able to, with all that, going through, 6 Steps to 7 Figures. I just put this book out because I want to kind of share some of the stuff that I've learned and what's given me my life value and been able to give value to others and of that nature. What was your main purpose? Was it putting a book out? Because a lot of people want to put a book out, and they first put that book out and then they just forget about it. I know you became a best-selling author, but then all of a sudden you just had this research in as well. What was?
For me, it was a goal first and foremost. To be able to write a book and go through the process and do it. I didn't know how hard it was. I don't know how.
Not easy.
I don't know how people like John Maxwell or whoever, just write like 15 books. That is just insane to me. It took me 4 years to write one book, and it was grueling, because the whole time you're doing it, you're like, I'm spending all this time and putting all this energy into this, and I know it's not going to make me any money. You know what I mean? It's like you just know that it's not
right.
A block. It's, not to be negative, but, very few people make a lot of money off a book.
100%. You were right. And then that's the whole thing. You have to, you have to be putting it out for yourself. I think, that's why I put the book out. It was like, look, I want to do this for me and to be able to share it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to get rich because of this book. Right.
Right.
If you go into that mentality, I hate to say it, but you're going to be let down.
Right.
And it's one of those pieces that you just have to be able to do it for yourself. Man, you've had a lot of success in your career. You've had a lot of fun. You still live a great life. If there was one thing before we kind of wrap everything up that you really feel that has really been a huge impact in your life or really changed your life that you would want to share.
I think that your greatest hits in life, I believe that just like musicians, right? Musicians always have greatest hits albums. And I believe as people, we have greatest hits albums as well, and if I were to look back now on my life thus far and look at my greatest hits, I think they all pertain to meeting certain people. Like the day I met my wife, the day my kids were born, maybe the days I met certain business partners,
right?
Things like that. I think all fall under my greatest hits.
I love it. Well, Pat, I appreciate it, man, for jumping on here with me and doing this Facebook Live. And we're going to put this out on the new coming up soon, Balance is Bullshit podcast as well. So, man, where can everyone, that are watching right now or listening, where can they find you and be able to connect with you? Because, there's a ton of real estate agents that 100% need your advice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the podcast is called Real Estate Rock Stars, and it can be found where all podcasts are found. You can find me. I'm all over the place. I'm very visible. You can just type my name in, PatHiban. You can go to pathiban.com. It's kind of like a one website that connects to about 5 other websites of all the different endeavors that I'm involved in.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and have a great day, bro.
All right, Josh, this was fun.
Awesome, Pat. Thank you so much, man. I mean,